UnBadding, we're UnBadding, baby. We're on a journey, baby. We're UnBadding, baby. We're UnBadding.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of UnBadding. I'm Jessica Presley.
And I'm Dayna Pereira.
We are here and it is the week of Thanksgiving.
So grateful for everything like turkey and mashed potatoes.
I don't really give a shit about the turkey. I'm sorry.
Oh, vegan.
You know, when I can.
Yeah.
But turkey's never really been my jam.
What about mashed potatoes, though? You love some mashed potatoes?
I do like mash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sad about it.
I could smash some mash.
Yeah. I'm usually more of a sides kind of girl anyway. I just want like the whole plate full of sides. I want like some butternut squash and some mash and like some Brussels and some beans and like all the things.
Okay, so what seems to be a huge controversy out in the world is green bean casserole. Are you pro or con?
I grew up in Pittsburgh. 1,000,000% I am pro. You better not use fresh or frozen beans in that shit. They better come from a can and they better fucking say Green Giant on it.
Fuck yes.
And that soup better be Campbell's.
Yeah, there's no other soup that you can possibly use.
Is the one time of year I use canned soup.
And canned green beans.
And canned green beans, yes.
Any other time I want them fresh, but no, for my green bean casserole, I want it canned. I want to taste the tin.
Yes, you got to taste that aluminum. I remember one year Aunt Bobby Joe made green bean casserole. And it was like the first time I think I even understood that like you could buy a whole bag of beans frozen.
Oh,
because she put frozen beans, or maybe they were fresh. I don't know. For some reason, I think I remember them being frozen. And I just remember like taking a bite.
They were frozen.
I remember taking a bite and being like, oh my God, what they do to the green bean casserole?
Who fucking assaulted the green bean casserole?
Like, this does not taste like Green Giant French cut.
Ugh, rude.
That is the only like variation I could handle is the style of beans. You could use the fatter ones or the French cut ones. It doesn't matter. I can do it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be Green Giant and Campbell's and French's.
We have standards, okay?
Hello, people. Do people really not get down with the green bean casserole?
There are a lot of people out there that like, if you were to see the meme that is like, get rid of one, and it's like green bean casserole, sweet potatoes with marshmallows. I saw one with potato salad. I have never had a potato salad on my Thanksgiving dinner table.
No, that's usually like 4th of July, right?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
fuck that. I was like, easy, potato salad. Get the fuck out of here. It does not belong here.
What does not belong in this picture?
I felt like I was in kindergarten and I passed with flying colors.
Yeah. Although those sweet potatoes with the marshmallows, I never really...
Americans are weird, man. Like, who puts marshmallows in with their vegetables?
I mean, I get it. The sweet, it's good, but I don't know. I could probably do better with brown sugar or maple syrup.
I'm not going to lie. I eat it.
Yeah. I'm not going to be bougie here, people.
Yeah.
I eat the marshmallows.
Whatever. So I was curious, though, because there is a long-standing 8-year tradition going on now. And I was wondering if this has been going on for 8 years. I wonder if my sister has ever heard about it.
Probably not. I'm like 8 years. That was the year I stepped into parenthood. There's a solid chance I'm totally unaware.
I don't know. I kind of feel like you might know this one.
If it's some hippie shit, I might know it.
It's not hippie shit, but there was 8 years ago a grandma that texted a person in her family saying like, all the Thanksgiving details.
And he showed up at her house.
Yes.
I do know this family. And they've been doing Thanksgiving together every year since?
8 years. This is the 8th year.
I love that.
And they're going to do it again.
I love it. That's so great.
Isn't that crazy?
It's so great. It just goes to show you that like family doesn't have to be all the people that you grew up with. It's like 8 years. And it's such an intimate day and like time of year. I don't know. I think it's so beautiful. It gives me all the warm, fuzzy feelings.
It makes me so happy because this guy was like, yo, can I still get a plate? And she was like, yeah, come over. And he did.
And he did. Okay, so maybe this year you should random text all the dinner details and see who responds.
I don't trust my luck that much. Because I know who's going to respond. It's like...
It's not going to be good.
It's not going to be good.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to end up with like... I don't know, a murderer at my dinner table. He's like, I'll carve the turkey.
Scary.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
But how crazy cool is that? And then this guy, I actually wonder how his family might feel about it. I guess maybe if he was like, yo, can I get a plate? Maybe he didn't have Thanksgiving family nearby that he could visit or something like that. I'm not entirely sure of all of the details. But I mean, this guy got to choose his family for a holiday.
I know. It's so cute.
How wonderful if you got to cherry pick.
Yeah, because, holidays are fun and wonderful and also terrible and painful.
They're so scary.
I know.
I saw a reel that was like, I don't want to go. And it was a husband dragging his wife and she's holding a bottle of wine in like a bag. And it says, when your husband's forcing you to go to your families on Thanksgiving.
It's not even like to the in-laws. It's your own family.
Yeah. And he's dragging her by her ankles out the door.
That's pretty funny.
It was very funny.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I like that.
And how many people out there feel like that? Whenever it comes to the holidays, it can get so stressful.
It can get stressful. And so I think that there are some things that we can do to help ourselves and to prepare for stressful holiday encounters. We're talking boundaries around the holidays today, people.
You need them. You have got to have them. I mean, we talk boundaries a lot around everything else. If you want an enjoyable holiday, boundaries.
Yeah.
Turkey. And boundaries.
Yes. Bend and snap. Turkey and boundaries.
If only we could get Reese Witherspoon to do that.
I know. Oh, I love that movie. We could get Brittany. She's a close second.
Oh, true that.
She has a good bend and snap.
She'll do it.
So boundaries around the holidays can be something very, very small and like easy peasy, or they can be some big year. They can be big year. Heavier.
Don't tell me as a big ear, though. That's going to start a problem.
No, it's a boundary you don't want to cross. They can be bigger and heavier also. So very light and easy is like conversation that we were having around the holidays. Hey, what time are you going to get things started? I've got a dog at home that I need to make sure that I am letting out properly, and I don't want to come way before dinner and then have to leave right after. So just managing our time properly. It seems like an easy enough thing, but it's also a boundary.
It is a boundary and it is a conversation. There's so much that goes into communication or communicating your boundaries with people. And I mean, let's be honest. There are just some people out there that aren't going to get it, and they're going to be upset no matter what, whether you try and politely get your boundaries across, like, hey, I have to leave by 5 o'clock so that I can let my dogs out, or I have another place to be. There are definitely those people that are going to be like, we're not good enough for you to hang out with, huh?
Like
You're
a
just
little
making an excuse to get the hell out of here, aren't you? And to that I say, let them.
Yeah, sometimes people's feelings are their feelings, and I am not responsible how you feel. You are not responsible for how I feel. And so if somebody's feeling a little jaded that you're trying to split your time on the holiday, then that's a them issue.
It is a them issue. And that's classic Mel Robbins advice right there. If somebody is doing something, they're trying to be I guess, I don't know, mean-spirited about something, let it go, move on.
Yes, let it
Because
go.
You cannot control what any of that is.
Yeah, definitely. So when we were talking about time limits on my end as a boundary, how do you manage time limits then, say, over Thanksgiving as the host?
Oh, that's great. Nobody come before 3:00.
And then what about the departure?
The departure, it depends on my mood. So typically I'm okay on whatever, because the people that I invite to my house, one, I know like Joe's mom and his.
You're like, I know they don't stay too long.
They don't. and that's fine. That is like their thing on the holidays. They come, they say hello, they eat, they bounce.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Hello, hug, nice to see you. Bye. You know, like that works out well for us. They also don't drink alcohol. So I'm sure that they're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? Like sit here and watch you guys pound a bottle of wine?
Yeah.
We're good. We're going to go.
Right.
So I understand. And then the other people that come to the house, like you guys are coming and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law are coming. I know they're going to chill for as long as they want to. We all have kids. And when they're ready to go, they're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. What if you're ready to go before I'm ready to go?
I will hold it in and not say a fucking word.
You wouldn't tell me?
Probably not.
Wow. Well, if you give me like a little double pull on the nose and a flick of the ear, I'll know that means it's time to go.
Okay. I'm
That's
like,
the
how
code.
do I don't know if I can pull that off subtly though. We all heard about me kicking my
It doesn't
husband.
need to be subtle. It doesn't need to be subtle. It's just because you can't formulate the words and get them out that a gesture might help you.
What if I just walk up to your husband and start tugging on his nose and flicking him in the ear?
He's gonna be like, dude, your sister's fucked up.
He already knew I was weird.
Yeah, he did. He did. That's why he didn't want to meet me.
But there is, there's always a lot of anxiety for some people. Some people love their family. Good for you. Way to brag. I'm just kidding. I love my family. But we all have that like weird Uncle George
Yeah.
that might get a little perverted.
Yeah.
Or maybe he gets a little too personal and he's like, oh, so you're really liking that pumpkin pie this year.
Oh, like giving like a little like little insult.
Yeah. Like our families, for whatever reason, maybe you have a cousin or an uncle or something that feels comfortable being insulting towards you. And you're like, fuck, I have to go deal with fucking rude ass Uncle George this week.
Yeah. So what do you say to somebody in those situations? Like off the cuff, what's something that you say if somebody is being insulting or saying something rude?
I mean, for me, and this is not the right thing to do, I want to make that clear. I go straight into self-deprecation mode. And the only reason that I'm saying that is because I think a lot of people do this. Like if somebody was like, oh, I see you're really enjoying that pumpkin pie this year, I'd be like, yeah, you know me, fucking stick it down my throat and straight to my ass. You know, like I would say something like that, like
Right.
make a joke out of it.
Right.
But inside I'm dying and like want to cry. But that's probably not the right way to handle that.
No, definitely not the right way to handle it, I don't think, because like you had an opportunity to like teach fucking Uncle George that he's being a dick.
I should have kicked him right in his balls.
Kicked him right in the kyok. That was for you, Joe.
I love it.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I feel like we have to all be prepared with some one-liners that we can use in many different situations.
And that is a really good point. Actually preparing yourself beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you know that you are going to run in to dickhead Uncle fucking George. I almost said Joe. Dickhead Uncle George, or, you know, like your snobby cousin, or, you know, whatever. having something prepared.
Yes. So one of the things that I really like to say if somebody asks me a question, so oftentimes when I find myself in larger groups of people, that, you know, sometimes with family, it's just the family and I don't have to worry about these things. But whenever it's like extended family of other families and a lot of people come together, which oftentimes happens around the holidays, I'll find somebody who finds themselves very curious about maybe our adoption story.
That has to be a huge one.
Yeah, people will really go for it. And so a lot of the times people are just curious, and I understand that. But there's also appropriate and inappropriate ways to ask somebody about their family. It's obviously a very personal thing. Some children are very aware of their adoption stories. Some children are not very aware, and people just talk about it all out in the open, which for us is fine. But like, I don't always want to divulge.
You never know. That's the thing. If you are not 100% sure that what you're saying isn't going to be hurtful in some way to that family that you're talking about, like, it's none of your business then.
Right. So I found ways to educate and also ways to respond for times that I feel like you don't need to know the answer to this. And one of the ones that I do really like is, that's an interesting question. Why do you ask? So like maybe somebody's like, how old were they when you got them? Like that's like a very common question. That's an interesting question. Why do you ask?
Is it because you're an asshole?
It's definitely because you're an asshole.
That's why you're asking?
Yes. And so a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't know. I was just curious. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why this popped in my head, but it felt like, this is going to be so wrong. It felt like you took a fishing pole and you just tossed it out there and reeled one in, brought it home.
Yep.
It's mine now. I'm going to put it up on the wall.
Yep. A lot of people I don't think really like understand like how the phrasing of such simple questions, how the words you choose can really objectify a human that we're talking about.
Yes.
So, that's one area that is like always kind of popping up. But another, I think, common thing among families that we all deal with is politics.
Ugh.
Politics is such a dividing one. And I know so many families or people that are preparing to go to their family's house that like have to put on this armor because they feel like they have to defend their side.
They're like ready to fight instead of like going to enjoy their time with their family. They're like, I know I keep going after the aunts and the uncles right now, but
easy target.
Yeah. Like, you know, Aunt Joan is like, you know, ready to fucking fight her fight about whatever political party she's backing.
Right.
Is the dinner table at Thanksgiving the time to discuss that? Like, I think we have all made up our minds. We all have our stances on the big issues that have put us into our different political parties, although I don't necessarily agree that we should have two political parties, but that's for another episode. But the dinner table, like this is a time that, for example, I have many people that I am on opposite ends of the political spectrum that I love and adore and get along with.
Right.
I just want to enjoy their company. I don't want to have a fucking battle at Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like there was a season of my life where I was like putting on the armor every time I walked outside. And it was like, you know, whether it be for the political party or whatever conflict that was happening. And I had chosen my side and you were on that side. And as I continue to take this spiritual walk and this journey in my life, I realize that like there is space for everybody, and we are all on different rungs of the ladder. And from your rung, what you see is meaningful to you. And from my rung, what I see is meaningful to me. And sometimes it's okay to put that aside and just love the person.
So, I love my memes.
I know you do.
And so there is one, and there are two people standing opposite each other. And there is a 6 in the dirt on the ground in front of them. So on one side, it looks like a 6, and they are fighting fucking hard. This is a 6.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other side, they're saying, no, that's a 9. And they're fighting their side, saying, no, this is a fucking 9.
Perspective is everything.
It's all about perspective. And I really think that we should allow ourselves to have a day where we can just enjoy the people we love without having to battle out our different perspectives on issues.
That's a really good point. And I think that we know the people in our family that have a tendency to lean more political or bring up uncomfortable conversations. And so if you have somebody in your family that you have to face, do yourself a favor and front load that encounter a little bit, and maybe reach out to have the conversation, or prepare yourself to have the conversation whenever you come face to face that this is Thanksgiving. It's been a while since I've seen you. I've really missed you. It would be helpful if we could put these topics to the side so we can enjoy this day together. That's setting a healthy boundary.
That is a very, very healthy boundary. Now, let's say that that person does not respond well to that boundary.
Not always great.
Because that happens.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people out there that fighting drama is like breathing air to them.
Right.
They don't feel alive unless there is something dramatic to fight about or, quarrel over at all times. So what do you do in a case like that?
I've got it.
Oh, I can't wait.
This is something I do in my house every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I call it
getting stoned.
No.
Oh, wrong one.
Different one. Also, not daily, but I'd like it to be. Also, it goes like this. Put down the rope. If you're not tugging on the rope, there's no tug of war. So what? Uncle Poo-Poo Pants is going to go on about the war.
And he refuses to stop. He doesn't give a fuck what you say.
No, he doesn't. But you know what? You can give him an audience, or you can use these little things attached to your hips, and you can stand up on your big, strong legs, and you can walk to another room.
And how awesome is it that you can say, hi, I'd really like to enjoy this day with you. But if you cannot let this go, then I'm going to have to get up and go into the other room.
Yeah.
That is a boundary.
So here's something that I've learned, though. The if and then conversation is very threatening to people.
Okay.
So when you say, if you do this, then I'm going to do that, it's a challenge.
And okay, I can see that.
Do you feel
yes,
that?
I
It's
do.
like, what are you threatening me? Like you think you're going to make me not do something I want to do? But if you switch those words and you say, when you talk about politics, I have to leave the room. Shifts everything.
It does.
Right? I'm not challenging you to talk or not talk about something. I'm just letting you know my own personal boundary. When you do this, then I do that.
That is a very good point, and one that I had not personally implied in my life.
It's a little nugget for you.
Maybe my life is about to change.
It makes a big difference, though. It feels less combative. It feels less confrontational.
It does. And that is the goal, at least for me, probably not for everybody else in the world. But for me, I don't want shit to be combative. I want it to be easy and flowing. And then I also, whenever I find myself in a position where I'm with somebody that's combative, I kind of want to like melt into the couch and like disappear. and not have to deal with it at all.
Yeah. When you say that, that makes me feel like very inflamed. Like I want to go get the bad guy. Don't do that to my sister.
I also feel like sometimes I do want to use an if and then because I feel like I need to show you that I am also strong.
Right.
And I will, I mean, I don't know that that's healthy, but you know, like sometimes I'm like, no, motherfucker, back up. I too am strong in my convictions. And if you're going to pull that bullshit, then there's the door. Fucking out of here.
Don't let the door hit ya or the good Lord split ya.
I was going to say kiss ya, but no, split ya is a much better thing. That makes the Lord sound like a pedophile.
Exactly. So let's talk about some boundaries that involve our kiddos.
Ooh, this is a good one. And one that I hate to say, with my older two kids, I didn't have many of them. And with my younger two kids, I've enforced a lot of them.
I think there's a lot more cultural awareness around, I think, some of the things that we're going to talk about now versus when your older boys were their age.
Room for growth. It's my favorite thing is always leaving room for growth. So when my older two boys were little and grandma and grandpa wanted a hug and my kids didn't want to give them a hug, I would be like, get over there right now and give them a hug. And now I'm like, they're not ready for a hug right now. Thank you.
Knuckles?
Yeah. And even if you don't want to do that, like, I don't care. Jonah is my youngest. He is 6. He will tell me, like, he was upset yesterday. He was like, he had teary eyes. And I was like, hey, bud, do you want a hug? And he went, no. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm his mama, you know? I'm not like, no, motherfucker, you get over here and you give me a hug. You let me make you feel better.
Yeah. It's so important, though, I think, for kids to feel surprised when they set a boundary and somebody doesn't respect it.
Yes.
So when my kids tell me no, if I'm like, give me a kiss, I'm going to go. And they're like, no, I'll give you a hug. I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to give me either. They're like, bye. I'm like, okay.
That's up to them. That's their choice.
Right. Right. So I think that there are a lot of really good boundaries that we can encourage our kids to set for themselves also. Like if we're getting ready to leave and, you know, Uncle Joe is like, hey, come here, give me a hug before you go. You know, if they stop and look at me, I'll say, do you want to give a hug or are you ready to go?
Right.
And I'll let them choose.
It should always be their choice. And I think like a lot of times whenever I was young, if I didn't want to give a hug or whatever, that meant I was a bratty, rude kid.
Right.
And not that I just wasn't feeling it right now. Maybe I was going through something. Maybe I was having big feelings over something. I didn't want to be touched. Now, as an adult, there are times where I don't want anyone to fucking touch me.
Yes.
If I am going, and I tell my kids.
Oh, I do too all the time. I'm like, I don't want to be touched right now.
If I am having a big feeling about something and my daughter wants to like rub my arm or something, I'm like, I'm sorry. I am having big feelings right now and I cannot be touched. And I do have a physical reaction, like like skin crawling reaction.
Yeah.
Occasionally to touch when I'm
like
feeling
having anxiety
things.
or something.
So why would I expect that my children who might be going through something, they don't know, you know, Aunt Joan or Uncle George that well, and all of a sudden we see them once a year at Christmas, and
Right.
all of a sudden I'm forcing them to like touch this person
Right.
that they never see? Why would I do that to them?
Yeah. Yeah, I think as parents also, one of the things that I set, because some of this is like setting boundaries for others, and some of these are setting personal boundaries even for myself.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that sometimes like my parenting might change or shift a little whenever I am with the in-laws or with my folks.
Well, you don't
or
want
with-
them to think you're a bad mom.
Right, because everything that our children do is a reflection of us. Right?
Totally. Because they're not their own person whatsoever.
No, definitely not. But also, you know, whenever you're talking about like the generations, there's different expectations with different generations.
Yeah.
And like my mom and my mother-in-law are different generations.
Yeah.
And we are obviously different generations than our youngest sibling. And so there's a lot of complexities at play. And I feel like a lot of times I find myself shifting my energy in how I parent my children, and my kids feel it like that.
Yeah.
And then it's like uncomfortable, even more uncomfortable for the day. So I really want to set my own boundary with myself in like maintaining the status quo of how I would parent my children at home versus with other people around. Like, just because somebody else might be annoyed with my kid doesn't mean that I need to make my kid feel bad.
And that was something that, I mean, Mason and Kai, again, I really like to compare my two different generations of children, because I was a different person with Mason and Kai than I am with Joss and Jonah. And I mean, luckily, the person that I am with Joss and Jonah is also the person that I am as with teenage Mason and Kai.
Right.
So
They got that part.
they did, which is nice. But I was so worried about what people thought about my parenting. Am I a good mom? I thought because I was a young mom that everybody was judging me, and they were. I was a horrible mom if my kids acted out. Every kid acts out.
Every kid acts out. It doesn't matter how old your mom is.
100 or 16.
Yeah, no, every kid's going to act out.
Every single kid acts out. Every single kid has their things. But it took me some time to realize that. And then as I got older, I have Joss and Jonah. I am not going to say that I am completely don't give a shit about how people think of me as a mom. But I am more like you know what? I am more concerned with how my kid feels when I parent them than I am about what fucking Susie Homemaker thinks about my parenting.
Yeah, but I think that comes with maturity. You know, I think that comes with maturity. I think that comes with self-confidence. And I think that being able, you and I talk about this a lot whenever it comes to parenting. You've had such a wide lens because you have so much more perspective.
Yeah.
That like your confidence has really built in your parenting.
It has, especially because I now see Mason and Kai, who I thought I fucked up so hard, and they're fucking angel human beings.
They are amazing humans.
And I really attribute all of that to open conversation, openness, letting them know I fucked up. I mean, there's so many different things, but I look at them and go, oh, no, I didn't fuck you guys up. I did exactly what I needed to do. I grew up with you, and you got to see my growth, just as I got to see your growth.
Yep.
I think that's important.
I think it's important too. And not to like get too far into like the parenting thing, but I think that it all kind of comes together. Like the awareness of your growth. It would have been a totally different story if you were who you were and remained who you were through their life.
Decided this is my personality and I'm not changing it.
Right. But watching that evolution, being a part of that evolution, and of course with our kids, you know, it's like the trickle down effect. Everything that you go through, you trickle down to your kids. They get some of that beauty too.
Or they get generational trauma.
That as well. But like that is something that, I don't know, generational trauma, I feel like is never something that we're going to eradicate.
No,
it's part
never.
of the soul journey of life to navigate that.
But seeing your parent grow lets them know that growth is coming
Yes.
if they keep going for it.
Yes.
So I do think that that is super important. While we're on the subject of kids, I also feel like this is a great time to make a PSA.
Okay.
Stop asking people when they're going to get a boyfriend. When are they going to have kids?
Oh,
when
when are you guys going to get married?
Stop it.
Yeah.
Knock it off.
Okay, I have two different feelings on that.
Okay.
One, I think just socially, it's like one of those things that just
It's like
kind of
asking
happens.
about the weather.
Yeah, it just like comes. It's like, oh, so you guys have been dating for how long? Oh, are you guys going to get married?
What's the next step?
Right. You talk to a woman who's like 30. Do you think that you'll have kids? Like, I don't know why we do that as a culture. I don't necessarily feel like it's ill intended, but awareness is key. Know better, do better. We don't know what people are going through.
Yeah.
My husband and I were on a journey to building a family and watching all of our friends around us having children and raising their children was incredibly satisfying, beautiful, and painful.
Yeah.
All at the same time. And so, like, you just don't know what people are going through. So be tender in the way that you guide these conversations. If you're talking to somebody who just recently got married and they start talking about wanting to be a parent, then engage in the conversation.
Yes. That is the best point, is that if somebody wants to talk about it, they'll talk
They're
about
gonna
it.
talk about it.
Whenever you small talk can sometimes be dangerous because it's so off the cuff. You're not really thinking about it. But again, you don't know what somebody is going through. Whatever your off the cuff small talk might be incredibly painful.
Yeah, for someone else.
For somebody else.
Yeah.
So being aware of it, especially around the holidays, I think is really important. You don't need to give a shit when so-and-so is going to propose to their girlfriend/boyfriend.
Right.
You don't need to know unless they bring it up. If they plan on having children, some people don't want children at all.
Okay, so you are newly engaged and are having some rockiness in the wedding planning because there's some family drama going on in the background, and somebody asks you about your wedding plans. How do you set the boundary if you don't want to engage? Do you play nice and say, oh, it's all great, and you do the small talk? Or do you set the boundary?
No, you play nice and you do the like, oh, yeah, it's going great. And then you fucking walk away.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that there is a level of social acceptability. So, example,
like not everybody needs your full truth kind of thing.
Like we were talking about with forgiveness and with lying.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You don't need to tell it. You don't need to be that vulnerable with everybody.
Right.
They don't deserve it. Now, if I go to my sister and say, hey, what's going on with your wedding plans? And you say, oh, everything's great. Okay. And that's not the truth. I mean, that would like hurt a little bit. But then again, it's up to you to decide who gets that level of vulnerability from you.
Well, I think that sometimes we have to take away like this like stigma of everything just being okay. Like, oh yeah, it's great. It's fine. Right. Like not everybody gets your truth, but also setting a boundary is okay. And we're allowed to stand up for ourselves. And it's okay to say, you know what? It's just not something I really want to talk about right now.
Can I tell you something that happened the other day?
Yes.
And I was so blown away about it that I tweeted it.
Ooh. Is it still called that?
No, I don't know. Xing it? I don't know what it's called. So my husband and I are outside and we're watching a football game or whatever. I'm a little grouchy, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Honesty is key.
And he says to me, Can I tell you something without you being, or can I say something without you getting offended?
Nope.
And I said to him, I looked at him and I went, actually, I'm not in that space right now. And he went, okay. Guys, that was it.
That was
the end of the conversation.
Did you ever get the tea?
No, I have no idea.
No. Okay.
For all he knows, I'm still not in that space. I'm not sure. But all I said was like, actually, no, like I'm not in that space right now. And he didn't push it. He didn't try harder. He wasn't like, no, fuck you. I'm going to tell you this shit anyways, you grouchy bitch.
Yeah. It's like, if you asked the question, then you wanted an answer.
And I gave him the answer that I was actually feeling in that moment where I was like, actually, no, like, I know whatever you're going to say right now. I'm grouchy as fuck right now. It's going to offend me.
This is going to go sour.
Yeah. So whatever you're going to say, probably not going to be like beneficial for either of us. So no, I'm not in that space right now. And he was like, okay.
Solid communication.
Yeah. I was like, go, did we just win the silver medal?
What kept you from gold?
I don't know. I just felt like we could always do better.
This is, I think, the second or third time we've had like a communication. Yep, that's the one. That's the second or third time this has come up. I feel like it's time. It's got to be on the docket for December.
Okay. All right. We can do that.
Communication coming at you.
We can do that.
All right. So another thing that I feel like we can just kind of put at the end of this here, just to help us all get through the holidays a little lighter. We're setting boundaries with family. We are having our own personal boundaries for ourselves, whether it has to be with kids, things we're willing to talk about, things we're not willing to talk about. We have some one-liners prepared in case the conversation goes to a place that we're not happy with. When you talk about this, then I have to leave the room, kind of thing.
Or you switch it up to better wording so you're not combative.
And so another thing that I think is super important to do is self-care before any sort of interactions with family that could be strenuous or difficult. Even if it's with family that's going to be great, why not give yourself some care and like also set a great intention about like this holiday that you're going to spend together? Intentions are so powerful.
And I think we've all been guilty of stressing over something that hasn't even happened yet.
Girl,
we make up things in our mind because we've had a, bad interaction with somebody before and we just know it's going to go there.
Definitely.
There's no way that this is going to play out any other way. This is definitely going south. I need to fucking stress about it from now until it happens.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that bad thing doesn't happen.
Sometimes it doesn't happen and you've got all these feelings and all of these hormones pumping through your body, pumping through your blood, preparing you for said attack.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even happen.
So I think also like setting that for yourself, like recognizing that bad things don't happen all the time and you don't need to prepare for the bad thing all the time. Let me backpedal a little bit here. Prepare for it. You don't have to expect it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be a thing. And if we really want to tighten this up with a pretty little bow, watch your alcohol consumption because that could really fuck some shit up.
100%. Easy on the juice.
Chill on the booze.
Yes, because that never makes anything better. And when you're the one that's not intoxicated and you're watching everybody else being intoxicated, it really gives you some perspective.
Guys, and that's coming from me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
enough said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to chill on the booze, let things play out there. You know what? In fact, if we really want to do this, we say we're having 1 glass of wine. And then I have to leave at 5 o'clock.
All the boundaries.
So that I can go home and finish that bottle of wine.
True story.
That's fine. Do it.
Or, you set the intention, you have a positive space. When you have negative encounters, you hit them with a boundary or when then statement. You navigate to another room and like you actually enjoy your time with your family.
Like a fucking boundary ninja.
Yes.
Hoi ya. Guys, I really hope that your Thanksgiving is filled with gratitude and boundaries, because some of us need them, some of us don't. And for the ones that don't, shut up. We don't care.
Yes, we do.
Hey, we do. Okay, I'm just kidding.
All right, everybody. Until next time.
We're UnBadding, baby.
UnBadding, UnBadding, we're UnBadding, baby. We're on a journey, baby. We're UnBadding, baby. We're UnBadding.